Since the dawn of cannabis prohibition in America, Georgia's had some of the strictest anti-cannabis laws in our nation. Georgia first legalized medical cannabis in 2015, but it did not actually issue a single dose until 2023. That left over 20,000 patients sitting waiting for over 8 years. July 2026, SB 220 went into effect and rewrote how almost all of Georgia's medical cannabis market works. One of the biggest things it did is it allows out-of-state patients to use their medical cards in Georgia now. I've come to be the first, if not one of the first people to use Georgia's new Reciprocity law. The plan was simple: walk in as a Florida medical patient and buy medicine legally under the new Reciprocity laws. That's not what happened, not even close. Pooler, Georgia, 15 minutes west of Savannah. 2 licensed dispensaries, Trulieve and Botanical Sciences. Same town, same law, same state license commission. 2 different answers. I called Trulieve first. Can a out-of-state Florida patient legally buy medicine from them today? The answer was, if you have a valid card that matches your driver's license, yes.
On Trulieve and Pooler, how can I help you?
Hey, how you doing today? I had a quick question. So I'm actually a patient from out of state in Florida, and I was doing some research about the new SB 220 law, and I was wondering, does the reciprocity apply?
Yeah, if you have a driver's license that matches your medical card and it's neither of them are expired, you can use that medical card to shop here.
5 minutes later, I called Botanical Health Sciences right down the road, and they told me that the laws were still unclear and Florida residents could not purchase legally in Georgia. Hey, how you doing today? I just had a quick question. So I am a Florida medical patient in state right now, and I was doing some research on the new SB 220 law. Am I able to purchase with you guys today?
Okay, unfortunately, if we don't have a Georgia medical card, we are not allowed to serve this yet. We don't have records for it yet.
Are you guys sure about that?
So I asked my GM yesterday. We had someone else come. We had a couple other people asking from Florida, and I said, she said that as of yesterday, she has not received any confirmation for as far as out-of-state medical cards. Yeah, right now we're just playing we're erring on the side of caution to make sure that we get it right the first time, so we don't have to, backtrack and so on and so forth. So until we get that explicit consent that we can serve outside the state, right now we're keeping it safe right now.
I made both of those phone calls sitting in the Trulieve Pooler parking lot, and I didn't end up buying because I didn't have my physical up-to-date medical card with me. I had an old expired version despite my recs being active in Florida. I'm a big dummy. But despite my own stupidity, I still had a problem in front of me. 2 dispensaries, same town, 2 different answers. So I did some research to get to the bottom of this. This is Senate Bill 220, signed by Governor Kemp, May 12, 2026, effective July 1st. This is the law that, among other things, added out-of-state reciprocity to Georgia's medical cannabis program. And here's the exact words from the bill. Notwithstanding any provision of Chapter 13 of this title, it shall be lawful for any person to possess, purchase, or have under his or her control 2 ounces or less of medical cannabis, if such person has in his or her possession a registration card issued by another state that allows the same possession of medical cannabis as provided by this state's law. Let's read that again. Possess, purchase, or have under control. The word purchase is in the statute, in writing, signed into law by the governor 6 weeks ago. Out-of-state patients from a state with equivalent possession laws to Georgia are allowed to purchase medical cannabis in the state. That's what the law says. But here's what the Georgia Access to Medical Cannabis Commission says on their website and FAQs right now. Cannabis programs are state-based and vary from state to state. There is no reciprocity between Georgia and other states for medical cannabis. That is the board that is in charge of Georgia's entire medical cannabis program, telling you that the law written into effect doesn't actually say exactly what it says it does, which, kind of sounds a little bit familiar to, some of the tweaks and languages that happened in Florida. Both of these documents are live on the internet and they're popped up right here. So now the 2 different answers kind of make sense. Trulieve was going with the actual statute written into law, and Botanical Health Sciences was going with what the commission board said. And nobody in the state has bothered to fix this yet, because they are too busy handing the entire state's cannabis supply to just 6 companies. Let me show you who those 6 companies actually are. Trulieve Georgia, Class 1. Botanical Sciences, Class 1. Fine Fettle, Class 2. TheraTrue Georgia, Class 2. Nature's GA, Class 2. Trivana Remedy, Class 2. Interesting enough, that isn't even the biggest scandal in Georgia medical cannabis. Who actually owns these companies is what's shocking. License number 1, Botanical Health Sciences and Tom Price. Tom Price was a former US congressman from Georgia. former Health and Human Services Secretary under Donald Trump, and the same guy that voted against medical marijuana legislation in Washington, D.C. every single chance he got. That guy is now in the ownership group of one of the only Class 1 licenses in Georgia. When Botanical won that license in 2021, they had no prior cannabis experience, their website was blank, and to top all of that off, the guy who actually wrote the original Georgia medical cannabis law, former state representative Alan Peake, was denied a license himself. In Peake's own words that he said to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, "To have a guy who fought so diligently against everything we've worked so hard to accomplish here in Georgia and then receive a license, it was a tough pill to swallow. It's the height of hypocrisy." License number 2, Kim Rivers and Trulieve. The CEO of Trulieve is Kim Rivers, as many of us know, and her loving, faithful husband is JT Burnett, who was convicted on public corruption charges just 12 days after they won the Georgia license. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse here, but apparently Trulieve's Georgia application disclosed a ongoing investigation in Florida, but didn't go into too much detail and didn't name Burnett. License number 3, Fine Fettle. And if you don't know what nepotism is, well, here you go. On the board of Fine Fettle is Judson Hill Jr., whose father is former state senator Judson Hill Sr. Judson has been smart enough to say on his own podcast that I had to lobby my own dad first, a sitting Georgia senator, to see the medical benefits of cannabis. I wish my daddy was a senator. A son lobbying his father, a state senator, to change the law that he directly profits from. God, I love America. Now, this one isn't a license, it's a lawmaker. Sitting Georgia State Rep, Deborah Silcox. Silcox admitted on camera to Fox 5 Atlanta's investigative team that she personally worked as, quote, a consultant on one of the companies she was applying. Unregistered, unpaid, her financial disclosure never mentioned it. She refused to name the company, quote, that remains a secret. Why? She then went back to the office and voted in favor of House Bill 196, which would have expanded the number of cannabis licenses available in Georgia by 11. She gave advice to a company that was trying to get the license that then she voted to hand out more of. Her defense on Fox 5 was classic. No, I said I was out of the office at that time, so it makes it okay. Nobody is reprimanded, no one was investigated, and she's still in public office to this day. Now, I know we said we had a few more licenses to go, but honestly, that's kind of the end of the controversy, but not yet. See, for years, the Georgia Department of Public Health told the public that there was around 50,000 state-registered patients. That number showed up in news articles, legislative debates, and much more. And it was key for the argument of expanding the program and therefore handing more license shares to 6 people. The real number, ladies and gentlemen, 14,000! In October of 2023, the department quietly admitted that they had been counting patients' cards who had expired or people who had passed away. That 50,000 figure was inflated by 260%, off by a factor of almost 4. No one's been fired and no one's been publicly named. And the same 6 license holders who have benefited from the state overstating patient demand are the same 6 license holders who have been handed every single program expansion since, including the one that we're talking about now, SB 220, the same expansion that added out-of-state reciprocity that the state's governing board telling people it doesn't exist. And I want to be clear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that the people working in Georgia Pooler or Georgia Trulieve, wherever it is, are bad people. They're just doing what they're told. But what I am saying is that 2 different dispensaries giving 2 different answers to out-of-state patients about what they can and cannot legally possess is not a functioning program. When the state's own website contradicts what the statute that just went into effect says directly, that's not an accident. And when you look at who the 6 license holders actually are on top of the phantom patient scandal, it's not surprising at all that Georgia doesn't have their shit together yet. This is exactly what monopolies and regulatory capture looks like. Now, it's my own fault that I couldn't buy weed in Georgia, I accept that. On one hand, it might actually be a good thing, I could have gotten arrested. Again. So to wrap things up, not only are the dispensaries saying 2 different things, but the law written to effect and the governing board of medical cannabis also are saying 2 different things. One of the questions I have is what would have happened if I was able to buy weed in Trulieve, Georgia? Good night. If you hate corporate cannabis just as much as I do, then I'll see you July 18th in Fort Lauderdale. It's called the People Over Profits Crash Course. 4th year running, first time ever in Florida. Hosted by the Parabola Center and Florida Cannabis Action Network at the African American Research Library on Sistrunk Boulevard, the Parabola Center is bringing every serious anti-monopoly cannabis lawyer, regulator, and organizer in the country to one room. Former cannabis commissioners, the Last Prisoner Project, Florida Cannabis Action Network, no booths, no sales pitches, no MSO stock talk. Because here's the deal. Adult use is coming, and once corporate cannabis digs in, you don't get out. Tickets are on a sliding scale, free if you need it to be. I'll be there filming, come say hi. If you care about what Florida's cannabis market's gonna look like in 5 years, all details and everything else you need to know are linked in the description.